Good evening, everybody. I'm Old Dead Man, your host. We're going straight into the dev server today. This is the first dev server. We're going to go through a rundown of the items that are in it and the new changes as quick as I can do it so that you won't be too far behind, because I'm already behind. Let's get started. First up, we have Germany has the MiG-23BN. And you can see the stats there. It moves along pretty fast there, and it has some interesting secondary weapons. This would be some napalm equivalent incendiary bombs, some Fab 500s, a bunch of just miscellaneous stuff. Doesn't look like there's any guided, so that's a reason why it sits at 9.7. Just to grab the modifications and go through the loadout options here. Next up, the SU-25, the SU-25K, both sitting at 9.3. So we'll quickly go through them and see if there's any differences here. At rank 6, it said battle rating 9.3. There's the statistics right there. Doesn't look like there's anything exciting or different about it, but let's go ahead and hit the weapon systems. Ooh, we've got some R60 air-to-airs and the R60Ms and a variety of weapons loadouts. Now, I suspect that these are not final just because of the way they look and the monochrome nature of them all, if you know what I'm saying. Since there's all just bombs or just napalm or just those specific type of rockets. So odds are this is going to get some additional changes to its loadouts. Also, they do have a custom weapon system, so you can make your own loadouts, and that might be what they're going to go for, is have these as the defaults, and you can pick a custom loadout that you make yourself. Modification tree right here. We got the 30mm cannon or some 30mm countermeasures. Here's the specs for the 30mm cannon. For the 23mm cannon, we got the information on all of its ammo loadouts. And I'm just burning through these, so if you need something specific, you're just going to want to pause the video at just the right moment. Pop over to the SU-25K, see if anything pops out as different. Of course, this would be spaded right out of the gate because it is a premium vehicle. Rank 6, 9.3. Let's take a look at the weapons list here. Okay, they've got some more mixed loadout options as a default setup. Plus, you can still do custom secondary weapons. Garden variety modifications, just like the other one. So we should have everything the same. Quickly whip through these. The G91Y is coming in at rank 6, battle rating 9.3, at least as of this dev server. Here's the specifications. Let's go ahead and take a look at the secondary loadouts here. Straightforward and simple. And here's the modification tree for you. The 30mm cannons have fairly garden variety penetration, actually a little bit light. So keep that in mind if you are jumping up and down for the G91Y. A new Vator, SO4050 Vator 2 in late, coming in for the French tree at battle rating 8.7. Secondary weapons right now are just Matras or AA-20 Nords. And the modification tree, it looks thusly. There's a moment there, and then we can just do this. It's the same numbers as the other one, so I suspect there's some issues there. And at the bottom of the tree at 11.3, we have the Mirage 2000 CS5. This nice modern jet comes in at, of course, 11.3. This look at the speed and the specifications here. The secondary weapons, I'll look at thusly. That should be pretty good with some Matra Super 530s, Matra R550 Magics, and, of course, some light bombs and a few other odds and ends. Modification tree looks thusly. Let's go ahead and take a look at the belts for a moment here. Again, I'm just going to spool past them. And that is everything that France gets in the air trees. Ground vehicles coming in the next update include the M36B2 is coming to the U.S. tree at 5.7 BR. The vehicle should be a lot of fun to use because getting the Heat FS be a great option. Plus, it's got that light bit of armor on top. Probably won't save you much, but if somebody's trying to strafe you with 30s, you might stand a chance of not being killed outright. Modifications, I'll look at thusly. And of course, we have the T-33, the M304, and the very venerable M82. Plus, you get the M348 with 305 millimeters of straight-on penetration. Driving and gun handling feels about correct for an M36, so no surprises here. The new Germany VK3002M is coming in currently at 5.0 BR, and I suspect that's probably going to go up as we go. So let's preview it. You can take a look here. Looks just like it said in the dev blogs. There's your armor layout there. Going to get a good feel for what it looks like. The modifications look thusly. And you'll get the garden variety APCBC with 192 millimeters of penetration. Very effective at the BR. Quick test drive on it. It definitely feels a bit snappier off the start than the standard Panther. At a slightly lower BR, that might make a new spot for Germany to actually consider as their prime real estate. Now, they typically get a lot of Panther bias and Tiger bias at the 5.7 lineup area. But if you have a reasonable Panther at 5.0, it might be a good spot to be working a lot of your events. The new Squadron Battle Vehicle, the T-80 UK, is coming in rank 7, battle rating 10.7, and it probably very much deserves to be there if you're going to have it. The vehicle looks like it's garden variety for a T-80. Let's take a look at the armor real fast here. Looks about like I'd expect for a T-80. An interesting variety of loadout options. It seems like going from memory, that seems like it might be a little bit less penetration than some of the top tier stuff, but not bad either. It does get the gun launched ATGM and the new high explosive timed fuse shell. Should be an interesting piece of kit when you get to it. Stabilizer feels good. And the lower BR equipment is definitely falling to the actual vehicle. Britain is getting the Skink at 4.7. Let's take a look there. Rank 4, battle rating 4.7. That looks like the turret rotation speed stock is relatively low compared to what it should be, which is 60 degrees per second in the horizontal and 45 degrees per second in the vertical. But the guidance numbers appear about right. Let's look at the modifications. 42 millimeters of penetration with a 20 millimeter. At this BR, you're getting out of the range where that's going to be really effective. But otherwise, it's got the Sherman armor, and actually the armor on the turret looks pretty good too. Again, for 4.7, not bad, but you're not going to survive a bunch of direct hits with this particular vehicle. Type 16P comes in at rank 6, battle rating 8.7 for Japan. Got ourselves a nice 12.7 millimeter heavy machine gun from the top and a 30 caliber that's actually coaxial with a 105 millimeter JSW cannon. Here's your protection analysis information, i.e. there is none. Let's go look at the modifications real fast. Ammo types are fairly decent, although I think they lost one compared to the actual final model. Stabilizer is excellent. Handling on dirt roads is about what I'd expect for this vehicle. As in, it clips along just fine. Whee. It's on the move pretty decent. And overall, you're looking at a fairly capable wheeled TD with no armor. So it should be a lot of fun to drive, but definitely expect it to not survive a whole lot on the battlefield. Moving on to a Chinese vehicle that I guarantee I will not be able to test drive, the AFT-9, which should be the AFT-09, or actually I'm really impressed because originally they called it the HJ-9. So the fact is that they have changed the name to at least something that's pretty darn close to what it's supposed to be, and I'll take it. The FT9 has got about the specifications you'd expect. Let me get actually into the preview here. There we go, preview. No armor to speak of. A couple of launchers, straightforward. No real armor to speak of. And of course, the modifications look thusly. The HJ9 missile claims to have 1,200 millimeters of penetration after the initial tandem warhead goes off. So in theory, this should be able to go clean through a modern main battle tank, in theory. At 9.0, we get a premium VRCC. As we've already had the dev blog on this one, there's not a whole lot of exciting changes here. Looks like it's again, 9.0, battle rating, rank 6.0. And the armor, of course, is non-existent. In fact, the most armored thing is the barrel. Modifications look thusly. We've got a M456, M393A2, M735, and the DM33. Gun handling is excellent. Maneuverability on dirt is about what you'd expect for a wheeled tank destroyer of this rank. It definitely gets along pretty good through the water, so I'm relatively impressed. Though I don't believe it brings anything new to the table that isn't already... Ooh, look at that! Did you see that? Turret rotation is definitely not the most robust thing around. But it moves along at a really good clip. Definitely liking the vehicle. France is also getting an M36B2. And as you can see, it looks pretty darn familiar. Same shell types, same everything. Should be in good shape to go and kill in the same way that an M36 always does. Sweden's bringing the new PBV302 bill. It's already been a dev blog on this thing. Cute little thing, and doggone it if it doesn't just look like something right out of a Pixar film, you know? Armor, of course, is, slightly better than I expected, but not much. As in, it has just enough to trigger the fuses on any rounds that might hit it. Modifications-wise, you're looking pretty straightforward. The 20mm gun has 44 millimeters of penetration. The Bill 2 rocket has a decent 510 millimeters of penetration. And as of the dev server, of course, at this 8.3 battle rating, it should do a pretty good job. On the premium front, you have the Leopard 1A5NO, as in no way. And this puppy is just a Leopard 1. It should do a really good job at 9.0, and as it normally does. Armor for this BR and on a lightly armored tank is pretty decent. You probably could survive some hits on the upper front plate, but don't expect anything really much more. Shooting it in the mantlet's not a good idea. Otherwise, shoot it in the side, shoot it in the back, shoot it on the top. It dies. Still, it's a Leopard 1, and it's in pretty good condition. It's got DM12, DM512, DM23, and DM33. The DM33 is going to be your best bet for most things you'll face at this tier. It's not as snappy as I remember the Leopard 1 being, but it does get moving along, and it does maneuver and feel otherwise like normal. Good turning and decent-ish acceleration. feels a little bit sluggish for what I'm expecting, I think, honestly, is the statement I have. Now, this is the replacement for the CV90105 TML. That's the CV90105XC8. Cute little piece of equipment, and looks like it's going to be a lot of fun to drive. I don't know if this means that existing players who have the TML will get this model instead. I have not read up on exactly why they're doing this swap, but they are. So keep an eye out for that one. 9.3 BR, rank 6. There's your specifications, your armor, which looks pretty decent for what it is. Modifications are looking like so, and the ammunition options with the DM33 should be a really effective gun. Let's go ahead and give her the old test drive. Definitely a more responsive vehicle than the Leopard 1. And that APFSDS shell definitely does a far better job of killing than the Heat FS for this. Ooh, nice and responsive steering. Acceleration is decent. Not perfect, but not bad either. Yeah, I think for its BR, it should be a really good vehicle. Now, over in Israel, they are getting a lot of Magachs. Magach. Magach? Magach. It almost sounds Klingon when I say it that way. Magach. Anyway, I'm sure I butchered that pronunciation, but they've got the new Magach 3. Let's go ahead and preview that puppy. At battle rating 7.7, rank 5, we got a fairly garden variety looking tank. M60-ish look. Armor is pretty decent for this BR. The modifications look thusly. With an APDS, which should be pretty decent, and an M152 Heat FS. Feels like that's going to be a little bit of a challenge at that BR, but not too bad. If it gets up tiered, you might find yourself struggling to kill things. Magach 5 at 8.0. It's a rank 5 and some ERA looking stuff there. Here's the armor lookout on this guy. And let's look at the modifications. Fairly garden variety stuff that you might see. I think you're going to mostly use the M111 once you get it. But that is a rank 3 modification, so you'll be grinding for a bit to get there. Otherwise, it looks like it should be pretty effective for the BR. And in the realm of you can't have too many Magachs, well, we've got the Magach 6R at 8.3, rank 6. Here's the armor lookout on this one, maybe a little bit better, and some additional features that looks like they weren't coming on the previous one. The ammunition looks to be the same. Yes, indeed, looks exactly the same. And here's your modifications. And the Magach 6B, also at 8.3, apparently isn't bringing much extra to the table compared to the 6R, whichever one we just looked at. Here's the armor. Ooh, that top-down armor looks actually quite a bit better. Let's see, what's it show as? Well, I mean, it's only 26 millimeters, but it is better than some other top armor. So keep that in mind. A lot of stuff that's going on here. Once again, it gets no additional ammunition compared to its previous brethren, but here you go. Here's the modifications. And for the Magach 6M, we have got this armor layout. In fact, it looks like it might... Yeah, it's slightly less armored on top, but otherwise looks like it's an interesting one. Not sure why it's at 8.7. Let's take a look and see if we can find out why. Ammunition is the same in all respects. And the modifications right there. Oh, thermals. Got it. So 6M's getting you some thermals right there. Should be a pretty good at 8.7. The 6C looks like it's got even more ERA, both on the top and everywhere else. Here's the armor layout. A lot of all the same base, basically, with a few minor differences on the turret thickness and things like that. But otherwise, you're looking at just another Magach, but this one with more ERA. Modifications wise, you actually get a new APFSDS with 430 millimeters of pin. Should be very effective at this BR. So keep that in mind, as that is going to be a useful piece of kit. You also get a laser warning receiver, and that should help you out with all of the, knowing when you are being painted by the enemy. And just to give a little bit of variety, we've got a new Merkava at Mark 3C at battle rating 10.0, rank 6. Here's the specifications and what it looks like. I like the looks of the turret rotation speed. Plus, these angles are going to make it hard to kill from the front, especially if you have to kill the turret from the front. So clearly you're going to want to spend more time engaging from the sides if you can, and make sure you're hitting the body. Though it looks like the turret itself would be vulnerable to your fire. Here's the armor protection schematic there, or scheme. And here's the modifications. This puppy comes with the Heat FS and a high explosive time fuse, and the M322 with a whopping 589 millimeters of penetration. That's pretty darn good for 10.0. You should be able to kill some pretty good stuff pretty easy with this puppy. And that is all of the ground vehicles. Let's move on to the helichoppers. And it looks like for this round, we're only getting 3 choppers from the Chinese tree. A familiar Gazelle here. Rank 5, battle rating 8.3. Looks pretty darn familiar. No armor. Modifications look thusly right now. The Saklos semi-automatic guided missile should be really good at 480 millimeters of penetration. You also get night vision, but not thermal, so keep that in mind. Your default 50 caliber rounds are nothing to write home about. You got 34 millimeters of penetration at point blank range, 33 at 100 meters, so you don't have to get right up on them if you're going to get a good solid flat shot. But again, it's only 33 millimeters. You're not going to kill a whole lot that way. China's also getting a Z11WA at 8.7, rank 5. Nothing to write home about this particular vehicle as well. It's basically the same type of general layout. You get a little bit better HJ-8C missiles, I think. And otherwise, you're looking at pretty much the same vehicle. The Z19 looks like it's a very much Apache-inspired design, with just the seat having a little bit of armor, so maybe they can avoid getting shot in the back by their co-pilot. The modifications look thusly. And you're looking at some thermals on this one, which probably justifies the 10.3 rating. So be prepared for this one to be a little bit more of a challenge for you, just because of the BR change. And that is a pretty huge jump from 8.7 to 10.3. Over in Naval, we've got some new equipment here. We have the USS Alaska over at battle rating 7.0. Rank 5, 7.0 naval battles. That means you could be seeing jets in the USS Alaska. So keep that in mind. Ooh, wow. Pretty much an all or nothing armored layout is expected for this typical type of arrangement. Got some 12-inch guns here on this puppy. I'll quickly scan through those, and there's your overall look of your modifications list. Well, this is a different piece of hardware now, isn't it? The USS Cyclone, obviously a coastal fleet ship at 3.7, rank 5. This one's got, well, not a whole lot. There's no armor. There's no nothing. Looks like it's got, what, 1 gun? 2 guns. I'm not familiar with the Cyclone, so bear with me while we take a look here. Got some 50s, got some 25 millimeters. Just straightforward, simple gunboat diplomacy going on right here for the U.S. tree. Germany's getting a new premium, the KM5, with a couple of with a 15 millimeter gun and a 30 caliber, sorry, 2 30 calibers and 2 torpedoes. So nice little torpedo boat here. That should be a lot of fun. No armor. torpedoes are looking pretty good. 74 kilometers per hour max speed with a 2-kilometer travel distance. Now, with only 2 kilometers, you might have to actually pay attention because you don't want to be launching at things that are too far out. Otherwise, looks like it's a pretty good piece of kit, especially at BR 1.3, where the naval battles are still a lot of fun. Isn't that just the cutest little bubble gun right there? Then Germany's also get the SMS Elbing, which I am not familiar with, so this would be an interesting quick look. Looks kind of just like a weird design. It almost looks like it's a passenger liner that somebody threw some guns on top of. Here's the armor layout right here. Not much, but a 4.7, that's probably going to work to its advantage. 500 millimeter G6C torpedoes with a maximum travel distance of 5 kilometers. This one goes the distance. So should be pretty good right here. The guns, 150 millimeter guns, have these ammunition options. Ooh, a 238 millimeters of penetration, plus a 52 millimeter HE shell. Over on the Russian side, we got the new battle rating 5.0 rank 3. Seems a little bit low on the rank there. Blagorodny, or is it Blagorodny? I don't know. I'm not sure. I'm not, my Russian pronunciation is awful anyway. So I do apologize to that for all Russian speakers. But a cute little ship there with some 130 millimeter guns, 45 millimeter guns, 25 millimeter guns, and some torpedoes. Plus, it's got a 62 kilometer per hour top speed. Looking pretty interesting, especially at this BR. And of course, the Tech Tree 6.0 BR Mikhail Kutuzov. Let's take a look at that one. There we go. 152 millimeter guns, 100 millimeter guns, 37 millimeters, 30 millimeters. Lot of guns. And this puppy moves along at a steady 51 kilometers per hour. Looking pretty good. Armor is fairly well spread out for this type of vessel. Let's go ahead and take a look at the modifications. HE shells, some really good penetrating 152 millimeter APCBC, SAP BC there, and of course a time fuse. 100 millimeter guns have much a similar type of arrangement there. Variable time fuse and a time fuse. I think the variable time fuse might be a lot of fun. So this should be a good one for you. There's your modification tree as well. The Brits have not been left out of this one. Over here in the coastal fleet, the HMAS Arrow at 2.7 is a cute little ship, boat. Got to make sure we say that right. But at 38 kilometers per hour, it's going to be definitely fitting in at 2.7, not with the big boys. It's only got a 40 millimeter gun and a 50 caliber gun. So definitely not heavily armed, and I would suspect it would actually be better off a step lower in BR. Ammunition looks like this. Pause it if you need to grab numbers. And there's your modification tree. For Japan, they're getting the IJN Hachiharu at rank 2, battle rating 4.3, with its 427 millimeter guns. That makes it a total of 5. 2 40 millimeter cannons and a 610 millimeter Type 90 torpedo, 18 of the puppies. Pretty interesting at that BR. That is a lot of torpedoes to be carrying, and I suspect it'll do a pretty good job. No armor listed. Don't know if that's just incomplete modeling or they just, if it really is just that on the turrets. Modifications look thusly. Do also have a bomb mortar option, and bomb mortars and torpedoes. Got the 2 different types plus a variable time fuse. Sorry, a time fuse, not a variable time fuse. The 40 millimeter gun is looking fairly garden variety, though this penetration looks a little bit lackluster. And that's the IJN Hatsuharu. And bringing up the tail end, Charlie, is the Italian Navigatore class RN Giovanni de Verrazzano in the 1940 configuration. This destroyer looks thusly. Got pretty decently armed for a destroyer with the, was it 620 millimeter guns? That's really good. And looks like two 40 millimeter guns and eight 50 caliber guns and some torpedoes. So very nice. Armor is, again, virtually non-existent. The modifications look thusly. And the ammunition specs are thus. And there you go. That is the da Verrazzano, or Giovanni da Verrazzano. They also are getting the Andrea Doria, which has a dev blog that is out on it, and we'll be taking a closer look at that later. But at rank 5, battle rating 6.3, we got another one that could potentially be looking at jets when it gets up tiered to that 7.0 that the USS Alaska represents. Decent amount of guns at 305 millimeters for a lot of the turrets. 152 millimeter secondary, 16 of those. This is a very heavily armed ship, and it should be interesting. I believe this is a dreadnought style ship, as I recall. But the Andrea Doria is looking pretty good, even if it is kind of a legacy design. Very pretty ship. There's the armor, which actually looks like you got coverage across most of everything, so that's good. And the modifications look like this. 673 millimeters of penetration on the 305 millimeter guns. Very nice. And that is the Andrea Doria with a 33 kilometer per hour top speed, though you're not going to be making any speed runs. And that is all the vehicles that are in the current dev server numero uno, the #1 dev server. Let me know if you have any specific questions. I've got, I think, another 24 hours before things close. Yeah, 24 hours before things close by my calculations. So if you have specific questions, let me know in the comments. I'll try and jump on them and get the answers for you. All right, that's everything for today. You have a great rest of your day, and we will see you in War Thunder.